Are you dealing with bloating and gas where you look like you've been knocked up, but you really haven't? Abdominal pain and cramping, rashes, or other chronic issues like chronic fatigue syndrome, diabetes, autoimmune diseases? Did you know that you could be dealing with something called SIBO? What's that? Small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And it occurs when your bacteria in your small intestine gets out of whack, out of balance, and overgrowth occurs. Confused? Yeah, I know. But guess what? We're in luck. We have a TV host and a SIBO advocate and educator, Shivan Sarna, here to enlighten us on all things SIBO. Welcome, Shivan. Thank you so much for coming on. Yay!
Yay! Thank you.
Oh my God.
I'm so happy to be here.
Oh my God, the honor's all mine. Shivan Sarna is an amazing woman. She has played many roles in her life: daughter, wife, friend, yoga instructor, successful TV host, and now a passionate SIBO and IBS health educator and advocate. Diagnosed with SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, in 2015 after a lifetime struggle with digestive issues, Shivan decided to turn her past pain and ultimate victory over SIBO into a tangible way to help others who were also suffering. From that life-affirming decision, Shivan made it her vision a reality. Yay! And started SIBO SOS. She finally birthed it. Yay! More than just a summit of the world's best health physicians, gut health physicians, researchers, functional medicine practitioners, SIBO SOS has become the movement for awareness and advocacy, and specifically patient empowerment. Welcome, Shivan. I'm so honored. So I'm so glad that you've, learned all this stuff and we've educated ourselves about all this gut health and practitioners, because technically, being a board certified family physician, I wasn't taught any of this, right? So please, please, please enlighten us on this subject a little bit more.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I love your enthusiasm. That's how I feel about getting the word out too.
Yes, this is a must.
It's kind of hard to do the happy dance about SIBO, though, I must say, because it makes you feel bloated, it makes you feel uncomfortable. Absolutely. And if anybody who's listening has ever had the idea of maybe I have IBS, well, what's wrong? Why am I bloated? Why do I have constipation? Why am I having diarrhea? Why do I have both? It's very confusing. SIBO is, as you said, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and it's when even possibly good bacteria is located by a variety of reasons in the small intestine, and it sets up like a microbrewery. And in that area, all of the food that you eat starts to ferment instead of moving out properly. And then that leads to a lot of malnutrition. You were saying some of the other conditions that can be associated with it, because the bacteria, for example, for malnutrition, eats your nutrition and you don't get it. So I'm here to help everybody, as still being a TV host, but also a side passion project to help everybody learn about it so they can get the right tests and treatments.
Like you don't have enough things going on. Wow, you are such an amazing human being. But what are the statistics of those folks that have that could be dealing with SIBO?
So I've heard different numbers, honestly. Like I've heard a whole bunch of different numbers. 1 in 10 is possible. Wow. So it's an epidemic. There's no doubt about it. And the other thing is, it's interesting because SIBO has its own underlying causes, but it also has ramifications. So it's like you have SIBO because you have an underlying cause, and then SIBO creates a whole other set of symptoms in the body. So it's really important to get to that underlying cause so you can eradicate it or manage it.
We've heard a lot about leaky gut, increased intestinal permeability. Now, how does that differentiate from SIBO, and what are the symptoms? Do the symptoms differ? What kind of things are different in there?
That's a great question. So actually, SIBO can cause leaky gut, which was so interesting when I finally heard that and learned that. So leaky gut is that intestinal permeability, where you're having your food leak out into your bloodstream and all that. SIBO is that overgrowth of bacteria in the small intestine that leads to the bloating and the motility changes of either speeding it up too fast or slowing it down too much, or alternating because it's just not synchronized. So if you have SIBO, you probably have leaky gut.
Absolutely.
It's pretty evident. That's really it, unless you've only had SIBO for like a little bit. But if you have chronic SIBO, which is highly susceptible to relapse, you have leaky gut. And it does happen, however, that you can have IBS and not SIBO, but it's the minority for sure.
But then how does it relate to IBS?
So IBS, as you know, doctor, is a series of symptoms and often a diagnosis of exclusion. Well, it's not this, it's not that, it's not Crohn's, it's not IBD. Well, I guess you have IBS.
That's we're gonna throw it at you. Yep, it's the.
Yeah. Just pop it in there, just throw it in that category. But SIBO is the primary underlying cause of IBS. So here's the deal. If you've ever had food poisoning, you could very well have post-infectious IBS, which is after multiple series of food poisonings that your body has created an antibody to protect you, but kind of goes haywire, and the inside of the intestinal lining gets mixed messages because of that antibody, and then it doesn't have a harmonious pattern of releasing the bacteria out of the small intestine. So it's called post-infectious IBS, and SIBO and post-infectious IBS are really closely related because it's that bacteria in the small intestine that is SIBO. And it could be good bacteria, guys. It could be good bacteria that you want in your large intestine, but maybe from post-infectious IBS and not having the migrating motor complex sweep all the little debris or a lot of that bacteria out, that can lead to SIBO. Or it could be that you have a stuck ileocecal valve that's stuck open and there's backwash from the large intestine into the small intestine. Absolutely. Pretty glamorous, huh?
Wow. That's too glamorous.
No.
Right? No. But what's the treatment? So because the treatment is a lot different than just, you can't just put probiotics on people. You can't just tell them to eat sauerkraut. That's just the no-no. So please enlighten us on how we can get rid of this gut junk.
Well, I'm so glad you just said that, because I wanted to fix my microbiome like as much as the next girl, and so I was just putting probiotics like crazy into my system, and my SIBO was getting worse. But remember, I'm already overloaded with bacteria in the wrong place, so I was just like putting fuel on the fire. So there's three primary treatments. One disclaimer is that diet manages the symptoms. And so people who have SIBO and certainly IBS are looking for low FODMAP, low fermentable foods. And that really does help a lot. But as far as treatment goes, to really eradicate the bugs that are living in the small intestine, that would be the elemental diet, which is a 2-week, fairly radical approach of a diet that is originally designed for the astronauts, then has been found to help people with feeding tubes, so quickly absorbed into the body. And what it does is it feeds you, but not the bugs. So that elemental diet has a fabulous success rate. But keep in mind, there's a lot of relapse with SIBO, but you can lower your gas levels, which is what's being emitted by those little bacteria in the small intestine and yielding all that bloating. So elemental diet, it's the most radical approach, but so many people say, why didn't I do this first? Then there are the herbals, and those will probably take you about a month in terms of a treatment, and they can be things like Alimed, which is that allicin, which is the active ingredient in garlic, as well as oil of oregano. There are a whole bunch of different herbal combinations, neem, that work really well. But the downside of it, there's upside and downside. Downside, it's going to take longer to move the needle and reduce certain gas levels. But the good news is it's pretty easy to get, right?
Absolutely.
Then there is the pharma approach, the traditional pharma, and that would be Xifaxan, which is the brand name of rifaximin, that can be combined with neomycin and some other antibiotics. If you have methane-producing bugs or if you have hydrogen-producing bugs, rifaximin on its own has a good track record. And it's also known, as you know, to stay in the small intestine, so it doesn't nuke your entire microbiome. And those are all just decisions you need to make with your practitioner. One of the most important things I talk about is getting tested.
That's what I was going to say. Don't do it empirically.
Breath test.
Yeah. Get tested.
What do you think?
Oh, definitely, because there's different types, and then depending on the types, the organism, then we got to choose the specific antibiotic to nuke that specific organism.
Exactly. So get tested. A SIBO breath test, the best kind. Allegedly, these are all, opinions, but a lot of people feel that the lactulose, which is a sugar that the bacteria doesn't digest, lactulose breath test for 3 hours is really known to be the most effective. There's a lab that I like. There are lots of labs out there that do this. There are a lot of labs that don't. Is Aerodiagnostics. That just happens to be the one that I have the most familiarity with. So you can look them up, and they work really well with you in terms of working with your insurance or helping you to be able to take care of it on a cash basis for a reduced fee.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, amazing. And so where's the future? Where's the future? Who are the key researchers in this area? Who can we go to for more detailed advice?
Well, there are a couple of people, thank goodness. Dr. Allison Seebecker, who is one of my doctors, who also has been my colleague in creating SIBO SOS's Summit 1, Summit 2, and now the IBS and SIBO SOS Summit 3. Wow. And also we've done a great course on the SIBO recovery roadmap to help people get well. She is really doing a lot of work into the food. So she's really searching out the fermentable properties of different foods. So everybody with SIBO, she's a SIBO patient too, by the way, can eat food that will be lower in terms of fermentation. The other thing is, it's a lot about portion control, which is not fun. You might be able to have I'm just going to think of almonds. So I can have probably 10 almonds and they won't ferment. But if I go up to like 15 or like I drink a big glass of almond milk, it's going to be like over the top because the bucket gets too full of that and it will tend to ferment. But the other person that we need to keep our eye on is Dr. Mark Pimentel and his crew at Cedars-Sinai out of Los Angeles. This man wakes up every single day with the mission of curing SIBO and IBS.
Yay!
So he's made a lot of progress with he's the one who put rifaximin on the map for helping people with SIBO.
Love it.
And did the double-blind studies and all of that and showed how it helped. And so he's working with different manufacturers to create testing equipment, as well as a statin to help with SIBO.
Wow.
Big deal.
Yes. That's amazing. Well, thank you so much, Shivan. That was so enlightening, especially for something that's so confusing. And I think SIBO is just slowly coming to the surface, especially right now we're like increased intestinal permeability, leaky gut, but then there's obviously this entire new set that we really need to now start focusing on and, tailoring to our patients as needed. So if I love you as much as everybody else is going to love you, so where can we find you? Where can we find you? Yes, where can we find you? Because we love you. Yes.
Well, we love you. I love you too. I love you too. So come to SIBO SOS.
Woo! Yep, SIBO SOS.
SIBOSOS.com. And then also we are doing lots of master classes, lots of education. And if you need me, I'm at info@SIBOSOS.com. And the SOS stands for Save Ourselves. So we can all educate and be patient advocates for ourselves.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You guys heard it right here from the patient advocate herself. And you know that when you've dealt with it yourself, you're even more empowered to help educate those around you. So what's so amazing is that if you're on, despite an anti-inflammatory diet, gut healing diet, if you're still not getting better, it is important to discuss the possibility of SIBO with your doctor. So thank you so much for joining me. Until next time, follow me and my family on social media, Holistic Mom MD, and check out my book, The Holistic RX, Your Guide to Healing Chronic Inflammation and Disease. and my upcoming children's book, My Healing Day. Remember, I am here for you. Let's do this together. Let's heal our gut so we can heal from the inside out, because healing is so simple, and we're all here for you. Real healing for real life. Bye, you guys.